Mabuhay pageant fans! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hey Adam G. So how are you all doing again? Well, first of all, thank you so much for all your insights about my previous content. I surely read and appreciated all the comment that you had about it. It's just basically my observations as to how we could make our homegrown pageant Miss Earth a long-lasting brand in the years to come. So I really appreciate all the comments that you had sent in there. Now I have another topic to discuss on my commentary, and it's basically how I am summing up how pageantry unfolded last year. Instead of running down all the major headlines, events, and controversies that happened last year, I just thought of spinning it quite a bit and come out with a common denominator of those events and controversies as to what might have led for all these events and happenings to happen. And it has something to do with the state of pageantry in the world nowadays. And I am just so sad to notice the continuous decline of pageantry with everything that has been happening in the pageant scene lately. So here it is. Why am I saying this? So here are the 5 signs why I think pageantry is almost dying at the moment. First sign, the Miss Universe pageant is no longer aired in mainstream US media or TV networks. The recently concluded Miss Universe pageant in El Salvador may have been a smashing success in terms of TV ratings on its official broadcast partners Telemundo and Roku channel, but the obvious can never be more highlighted. The pageant is no longer being carried by a television network in the US where the pageant traces its roots. Back in the day, our most prestigious pageant would be aired in almost all the biggest and popular TV networks in the United States. Columbia Broadcasting System, or CBS network, began airing the combined Miss USA and Miss Universe pageants from 1960 until year 2002. When former Donald Trump became the owner of the pageant, he transferred the airing rights of the pageant to NBC, who broadcasted the annual pageant in the United States from 2003 until 2014. And then come June 2015, the year after, NBC TV channel stopped airing the pageant after Miss Universe owner Donald Trump made controversial statements about illegal immigration issue in the United States. Consequently, he decided to sell the whole company to WME/IMG, or now known as Endeavor's IMG Global Events Group, days after. And between 2015 and 2019, 4 years, Miss Universe was televised live by Fox TV Network, with Telemundo and FYI TV cable network airing it during the pandemic. Endeavor's IMG took ownership of the Miss Universe brand in 2015 until it decided to sell it to Kun An's JKN Global Media Public Company Limited for $20 million in 2022, or just 2 years ago. So from 2022 edition onwards, NBC has reacquired broadcast rights of the pageant again, but not on its mainstream TV station, but on its online streaming platform, the Roku channel. So guys, napansin nyo, if you may have noticed and observed, the broadcasting platforms of Miss Universe pageant has been suffering a downgrade. From mainstream television networks to cable channels and streaming apps, you can really see the difference. And we cannot blame these television networks for dropping Miss Universe, as the pageant has no longer been enjoying high television ratings in the US. In fact, Miss Universe's 2.4 million views worldwide in 2022 is the smallest television audience it has garnered since its history, which was 300,000 below its 2021 record and 1.4 million below its 2019 record. Hence, the ratings have been dropping, and is definitely contributing to the relevance of pageantry in the United States. Well, pageants like Miss Universe are so popular in countries like the Philippines and elsewhere in Southeast Asia and South America, pageantry is no longer seen as relevant in other parts of the world, especially in the Western countries or more advanced countries, due to this misconception, despite evolving nowadays as a platform for personal development and inclusion. That misconception stems from its underlying emphasis on physical appearance that is promoting harmful or unrealistic beauty standards that could contribute negatively to body image issues among women. And for these Western and more advanced countries, there are other fields for women to achieve accomplishment and development character and growth without necessarily having to parade in bikinis while wearing heels. While there are valid concerns and room for improvement, the relevance of pageantry has remained a very hot topic with different viewpoints. So I really cannot blame US television networks for dropping the pageant on its roster of programs, despite how Miss Universe brands it as a show for inclusivity, diversity, and a show for empowerment, for women empowerment. TV viewers have not been biting, and the decline in TV viewership worldwide is a proof of this, because only a segment of the population are very much into Miss Universe nowadays, and one of them is Telemundo Network, an American Spanish language television network which is giving that much needed boost in terms of viewership and engagement to Miss Universe on all its platforms. And I am not surprised because most of its audience are coming from the Latin communities in the States and South America. But it just needs to be pointed out. No matter how Telemundo Network tries to save Miss Universe for its different countries outside the United States at the moment, the picture remains to be painted. Miss Universe, an American company, is no longer popular and relevant in its own country. And because of this, we now go to my number 2 observation, which is a result of this what I'm saying, which is the newly crowned Miss Universe's Media Week tour has been significantly reduced. Yeah, I know. This second observation is the primary reason why I am doing this content, to let everyone know that the newly crowned Miss Universe title holders Media Week has been significantly reduced starting this year. Whereas we would always enjoy all of a newly crowned Miss Universe post-crowning moment interviews in different talk shows and platforms in US mainstream media, I feel like it is now gone or significantly reduced starting this year. Shanice Palacios from Nicaragua won her first country's crown last November, but it was only until last week that she started getting interviewed by US mainstream media through the show Good Day New York, a local show only airing in New York, which I feel is a huge downgrade from the media blitz former Miss Universe title holders has been participating right after landing in the US after their crowning moments. Suddenly, we are no longer seeing our reigning queens appearing in national television shows like Ryan and Kelly, Good Morning America, CNN, Today Show, among other shows and other online platforms. And guys, sa totoo lang, this just worries me because Miss Universe is slowly becoming extinct in US pop culture and no longer enjoying so much popularity among mainstream media in the US. Although Telemundo Network has given her own media week in Miami, Florida days after she won, it still pales in comparison from the US media blitz Shanice's predecessors had enjoyed during their respective reigns. And so this is definitely alarming. We might no longer see Miss Universe appearing in US TV shows in subsequent years due to its declining popularity in the United States at the moment. And now we go to my third sign. Let's now go to another pageant. The incoming edition of Miss World keeps getting delayed and delayed. Across the pond, Miss Universe's main rival, Miss World, is also having its own set of problems to deal with. Since 2020, if you notice, it has only produced one edition, which was held in Puerto Rico, which is a huge world away from Miss Universe, who has been consistent in coming out with an edition despite the pandemic. Although people do understand that its 3-year delay back in 2022 was because of the pandemic, pageant fans are now worried again that the pageant has been getting delayed for so long again for a different reason that they couldn't point out just yet. Around third quarter last year, kung naaalala nyo, Miss World organization finally announced that its next edition would be held in India. That was supposed to have taken place last December, only for them to backtrack and announce a postponement until February. this year. And now, from its latest advisory until March next year. Now, contrast this to the heyday of Miss World, especially in the first decade of this century, wherein it would find China as the host country multiple times. And just when I thought Miss Universe skipping 2 calendar years to hold its 2 editions last decade was the worst scenario we could anticipate in terms of organizations, logistics, and scheduling, it turns out Miss World organization could outdo it with its own series of delays and postponement. Before, napansin nyo, we would always see its home country, London, picking up the bill at the last minute in case something happens at the last minute. But now, not much has been heard about London potentially hosting a future edition. So this is also quite alarming. When you keep postponing the pageant, you make pageant fans see something is wrong and it kind of hits your organization's credibility for not organizing something on time. And I don't know how it could keep on going with a pace like this. As a result, I'm starting to become worried about its contestants as they also keep getting older and might eventually age out Miss World's age limit of 26 years old. And I really hope Miss World organization can finally fine-tune all its hosting details for its next edition because this is really getting worrisome. And now we go to my fourth sign. And napansin ko lang to. When there is only one company nowadays who would be the new crown sponsor. Have you noticed how how both Miss International and Miss Earth have the same crown sponsor for all its latest editions? Well, I would like to include it as a sign to its declining popularity in the world today. Back in the day, a pageant's crown would help contribute to the pageant's ideals and unique image as it evolves as a brand in this modern time. But now, you would no longer get that kind of distinction with the emergence of only one crown sponsor making the crowns of both these international pageants. Long Beach Pearl, a Vietnamese-based company known for its high-quality and elegant pearl and jewelry products, has ended up sponsoring 2 international pageants, a scenario pageant fans had not foreseen last year. And as a result, all these crowns that I am talking about look eerily the same in color and design, which no longer help the uniqueness of all its present crowns. They just look the same to me, in other words. So guys, if you will think about it, there is now only one crown sponsor for some of our major pageants in this world. And that's an alarming sign again, that only a few companies are willing to shell out money or funds in the pageant scene. And I don't know if there is a bidding process involved when it just feels so weird that we ended up with 2 different crowns from only a single maker, from a single crown maker. Again, this goes back to how pageantry has been enjoyed by a certain few. And now finally we go to my last sign, and I think this is really the strongest sign that the pageant scene is almost dying. When controversies about money, funds, cash flows, and debts have dominated major conversations and issues in pageantry. Back in the day, pageant fans would just concentrate on watching pageants excitedly on TV, whether it be the contestants' gowns, pasarela walks, or the girls' Q&A. The focus was more about the contestants and the production of the show. It is the title holder or the reigning queens who would definitely dominate our conversations, whether it be face-to-face meetings or get-together on social or get-together or all the talk on social media. However, nowadays, pageantry has evolved to be more than just a presentation of its candidates. Now there are more matters to talk about, like controversies, financial woes, debt restructuring, increase in franchise fees, lawsuits, whether it be breach of contract or fake news. The focus has now shifted to many matters to ensure the survival of these pageant organizations. And it's just sad how these particular topics have overshadowed what is supposed to be a celebration of women on these annual events. Because let's face it, guys, since the turn of this century, pageants are no longer deemed a lucrative business as it used to be, as it has now evolved more to become a business pursuit or standpoint. So sometimes we see ladies getting crowned not only because they are deserving, but also because of other things like business interests, commercial viability, or marketability to attract more sponsors to the coffers of these pageant businesses to pay long-standing debts to their lenders. And add to the problem was the pandemic that happened a few years ago, where we saw a sudden temporary closure of live shows, events, and tourism. So, napansin nyo, because of this, because of everything that happened in the last few years, long-term relationships between the pageant organizations and its outgoing national directors have also been negatively affected in favor of younger organizations that can pay the huge gargantuan increase in franchise fees. And another result of pageantry, no longer an ideal money-making business, is also the layoff of a lot of employees working in these pageant organizations, which involves pay cuts and resignations across the board. And while these pageant organizations more than made it up by crowning memorable queens who are the overall package, these pageant organizations still fail to generate sustainable long-term interest about all these pageants. Funds coming from potential sponsors or new markets still trickle down very little. Travel invitations to visit other countries have become few over the years because of high costs or fees, and little attention is being given on mainstream media. Diba? So with everything that I have said, it only makes observe that the common denominator of all these scenarios happening lately is money, money, money. It's all about the money. It's all about the dum-dum, and I don't think it's funny. Yep. This is the direct result of pageantry being enjoyed by a few and getting less popularity worldwide. And I don't know if it's safe to say that pageantry is slowly dying or in the last stage of its lifespan if you compare it to a terminally ill person, but all signs are pointing there at the moment. And every time I would read the news about the latest happenings in the world of pageantry, whether on paper or on social media, I would just feel sad and scared about the future of pageantry in the world right now, as all these news and updates are slowly contributing to the decline or eventual demise of our most beloved sport. Sure, here in the Philippines, we may not directly feel this because pageantry has become part and parcel of our culture, but elsewhere in the world, it is almost dying. So, I leave everything to all of you at this moment, guys. Is there still hope for pageantry to go back to its pink of health back in the day? Or should we just accept the fact that pageantry has become an obsolete endeavor in this very modern time? Well, let me know your thoughts down below so we could have a healthy discussion about it.